I think we'll get started. We're not got as many people with us today as usual, but it's a good time to get started. Otherwise, we'll start lagging behind in terms of timing. So just to have a look at today, we've got quite an exciting and very interesting, actually, people talking to us. Let me show you our agenda. So the first person that we've got is Bernie, has come to talk to us from the Wild Mind Project. And then we've got Rogers talking about youth development and coping with COVID. We'll give just a minute or two more for one or two more people to sign up. And anybody who hasn't yet put their details into the chat, please do that. Bernie, are you okay to share your slides?
Yes, I think so. So should I try doing that now?
Yeah, let's give it a go and see. Otherwise, I've got them available, but it's easier sometimes when you're presenting to have control yourself. Okay, just as Bernie gets set up, just remember if we could put our microphones on mute, that would be helpful just to cut out any kind of background noise.
Has that worked okay?
Perfect. Do you want to take it away, Bernie?
Okay.
Yeah,
So
lovely.
hello everyone. My name's Bernie Simcox and I'm the CEO for the Wild Mind Project. And today really I'm just going to talk about a very vulnerable group, the young LGBTQ community. So, but first I'd just like to tell you a little bit about the Wild Mind Project and what we do. We provide wellbeing support to all young people who are experiencing anxiety or depression. We use a combination of nature-based activities such as mindful walks, wildlife conservation or gardening, and combined with creative activities like painting or drawing, lino cutting, weaving. And we've got a very experienced art psychotherapist who gently encourages the group to open up and share their experiences and their worries. And very importantly, these young people develop a very supportive network that continues way beyond the duration of the programs. So what is the need? Well, I'm sure many of you will be familiar with the statistics. So research across the general population of children and young people shows that by the time children leave primary school, 1 in 5 will have had an experience of mental health problems. 1 in 10 secondary school children will have a diagnosable mental health problem. And interestingly, over 75% of mental health problems in adult life start by the age of 18, which is why early intervention is just so important. So these stats were before the pandemic. And of course, the situation is now far worse. So Young Minds did a survey in July 2020 of young people with existing mental health needs, and found that 80% of respondents agreed that actually their mental health had got a lot worse. And this was related to increased feelings of anxiety, isolation, a loss of coping mechanisms, and a loss of motivation. And among more than 1,000 respondents who were assessing mental health, who were accessing mental health support in the 3 months leading up to the crisis, either from NHS or schools, universities, private therapists or charities, 31% said that they no longer were able to access support but still needed it. And of course, there's a surge in new cases of anxiety and depression, which is significantly higher in the 18 to 25-year-old range, far more than in any other. So if we look at the LGBTQ community, young community, prior to the pandemic, LGBTQ youth were found to be at significant increased risk for depression, anxiety, and the risk of suicide. In a survey of young people, 42% of the LGBTQ respondents reported seeking medical help for depression or anxiety, compared to 29% of heterosexual young people. And 52 reported self-harming, compared to 35 of heterosexuals. And 44% reported thoughts of suicide, compared to 26 of heterosexuals. And now, due to COVID, there are even more serious implications for the mental health of young LGBTQ. So an unintended consequence of the pandemic is obviously physical distancing, and the loss of social connection that buffers stress, reduces depression, and improves well-being of the LGBTQ youth is now not an option. And among them, 1/3 experience parental rejection, and another third of LGBTQ young people haven't even told their parents about their LGBTQ identity. So COVID has meant that young people are at home more often. And if you're in an environment that does not affirm your identity, the risk of depression and even attempts at suicide increases substantially. So COVID-19 has made the future less certain and more distant, particularly for this vulnerable group. So to add to it all, many young LGBTQ people in London still face significant levels of prejudice. So just in the last 12 months, 1 in 5 LGBTQ young people have experienced hate crime. The figure increases to 2 in 5 for trans people, and 4 in 5 anti-LGBTQ hate crimes and incidents go unreported, with younger LGBTQ people particularly reluctant to go to the police. And I found a report that in 2016, Hounslow Council, Hounslow Police and a charity launched a survey to raise awareness in response to a report that highlighted that around 35,000 cases of unreported LGBTQ hate crime happened in the borough just annually, and that was back in 2016. So this sort of prejudice has sort of far-reaching consequences for LGBTQ young people's overall health and well-being. So you don't need me to tell you that Hounslow has one of the most diverse populations in London, and unfortunately in some communities mental health problems are really spoken about and can be seen in a very negative light, have a stigma. This can discourage people within the communities from talking about mental health. So the combination for the young LGBT community in Hounslow of COVID, possible stigma, means that many of them will not seek help at all. But we the Wildmind Project, we really want to try and help, but we need your support. So the Wildmind Project has run a number of these very successful LGBTQ programs in Kingston and Richmond for age groups from 16 to 25. And we're very grateful to Inspire Hounslow, who've given us funding to run LGBTQ young people's programs here in Hounslow. But we're really struggling to engage the young people here, and anything you can do to help us with that would be great. We usually have referrals from CAMS and Achieving for Children, mental health nurses, social workers, and we get a lot of self-referrals because they're 16 plus, they can do that. But this we don't seem to be getting them for Hounslow. So our first programme actually starts on the 8th of May from 1:30 to 3:30 and runs for 4 weeks. And there is a cost of £10 because it's not fully funded, but we're more than well prepared to cover that cost if it means that young people come. So please don't take that as any sort of problem. So just to tell you a little bit more about our programme, so you know exactly what we do. We provide a 2-hour session each week, as I said, for 4 weeks. And for this particular programme, we're holding it at Hamworth Park House grounds because it's particularly overgrown, and it's a very great green space that we can really do some good work there. So the first hour we might be spent just observing nature or gardening, discovery learning, or participating in conservation work. And the second hour we tend to sit round together in a sharing circle and do creative activities, as I said, like drawing or painting or weaving. The art psychotherapist just starts the conversation and guides it. And as time and the weeks go past, all these young people that sometimes haven't spoken to anybody for months and months, sometimes even years, other than their psychologist or their family, begin to talk and really bond. And we sometimes, if we're in an area where we're allowed to, we also set up a fire pit and we make damper bread, or we toast marshmallows or something like that. And it gives the young people a focus, something for them to look at. Rather than direct eye-to-eye contact when they're talking, which is you know, that which they much prefer. They don't feel under any pressure then to speak. And sometimes we end the sessions with a meditation as well. So I've just put a few pictures here of some of the things that we do. Sorry, it's just gone back again. So you'll see there's some lino cutting. I don't know if you can see that dark picture in the corner, but we, where we can, we set up camera traps. And when we got this badger on one, I can't disclose the location, unfortunately, but we were thrilled about that. That is us at Crane Park, and then they're making bird boxes there. They've been planting trees at Marble Hill, and they've made that big collage together as a team. And that's a dream catcher that they've made as well. So lots of activities. Nobody has to do anything, and we offer enough stuff that we hope that they'll be engaged with something. We always find something for everybody. So just to explain very briefly about how nature helps. So obviously our connection with nature goes back, is deep-rooted in our evolution. And there's just a mountain of new evidence that shows that spending time in nature is super good for you. So it provides relaxation, stress alleviation, alleviates the symptoms of depression, reduces, in some cases, the need for medication and mental health services, reduces ADHD, and improves the capacity to concentrate. It also, particularly in teenagers, facilitates networking. And research has shown that even if you look at your house plant on your windowsill for a couple of minutes a day, that actually reduces your stress levels. So getting them out into nature for a couple of hours a week is just so good for them. And art equally very beneficial, and there's a strong link between art and nature, and it helps stabilize young people's mental health, helps them transition into adulthood, increases self-esteem, confidence and resilience, and personal coping skills, and it increases levels of mental flexibility, which enables cognitive change. So of course, it's crucial that we properly evaluate our programs so that we can monitor mistakes, successes, and change things accordingly. And we're very fortunate that University College London has sort of taken us on board, and they've created a specific evaluation tool, which you can see here, this lovely vivid shape that we give them at the beginning, at the end of each session, and the whole point is that they just quickly circle how they feel rather than filling out a questionnaire, and it's much more spontaneous and has much better honest results. So we fill these in and then we send them off to UCL, and they put them in one of their big stats machines, and we're very excited to say that the results have been significant. So the young people that come onto our programs significantly increase their well-being by the end of the program. The Harlequins Foundation have also offered to evaluate our social impact. So we're just starting that now. So that will be interesting to see. And we have a steering group of mainly young people, many from the LGBTQ community, many who've had mental ill health themselves. We've got a counsellor who specialises in young people, a psychology student, yeah, a whole range, and their input is absolutely valuable. And our art psychotherapist is also a lesbian and of mixed heritage, so she really understands many of the barriers that the young people that come on our programs face. But just to end, the best thing I think is to actually hear from comments from the participants themselves. So these are comments made by some of the young people that have been on our programs. I'll just give you a moment to look at those. We're absolutely thrilled with how well it has gone, and we just are very frustrated that we can't get the young people in Hounslow to come on some of these programs. So please, you know, any support or ways that you can spread the word and get out there to talk to young LGBTQ who could be struggling, I'd much appreciate it. So that's it from me. So thank you very much. If I don't know if you want me to answer any questions or.
Yeah. Bernie, I think there will be questions, but that is the most amazing presentation. I have put onto the chat the link to your website, and also to orientate people, I've put in the Hanworth Park link as well, so that people can understand where in the borough it is situated.
Okay, thank you.
I think anything that we can do to share this would be really useful. I know Ian sends out a newsletter every week. He would probably be able to share that with our service users and all of the groups in Hounslow, and hopefully in turn they'll share it with lots of other people. But at the moment, I'm just going to ask, is there anybody with any particular questions that you have for Bernie? Hi, Rogers.
Hi, Benny. Thank you so much.
Hi, Rogers.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Really, not such a question, but my understanding or dealing with the young people, sometimes when you have a cost attached to some of these programs, I've found previously that sometimes it could be a deterrent for some of the young people to attend. So I don't know how you could be able to look at that as an organization.
Yes, yes, we have considered that, and it's certainly something that, you know, that we'll look at to see if that might encourage people to come along.
Can anyone self-refer, or are they?
Yeah, if they're 16 or over, they can self-refer, and they fill out a booking form, which they put a little bit about their history. If CAMS or Achieving for Children, if they refer somebody, the art psychotherapist has a look at their history, and we do determine whether they're suitable for the group. We've only had to turn down one young person because we thought that the rest of the group was at risk from them. But we do sort of have a look at their history and things and just check that they're, that they would be safe and suitable for the groups that we have.
And Bernie, is it an online form that they fill in?
Yeah,
or
so
do they need
if they go onto our
print?
website, so if you're a professional, there's a referral form, links on each page, and also there's an online booking form on each page that they just click on, fill in their details, push send, and then it comes through to us, and then I contact them.
Okay, and if a young person does contact you, and obviously they may do it in confidentially, what are the checks that are put in place to ensure that they are safe?
Well, we have we've done all our safeguarding training. We're DBS checked. We've done first aid. We've done everything, and obviously the art therapist is from a professional body, and she's supervised as well. So all the directors have had safeguarding training, and yeah, so we're fully insured, everything.
Okay, and in terms of the young person who may not yet have shared the identity with their family, how can they access, I'm not thinking secretly, but confident that that the decision to share the identity will be taken out of their hands?
Yeah, so nothing that we send them has anything to do with LGBTQ.
Okay.
It's a well-being. That's how it's described. And so there would, even if we sent an email, it wouldn't say anything about LGBTQ on there. So they could perfectly well just say that they're going on a well-being nature course or something.
Okay, I think that's quite important, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it is.
Noika, sorry, yes.
Thank you, Jane. Bernie, what age groups do you look at?
For the LGBTQ, we do 16 to 25. Some of our more general well-being programs are for younger, and we also do parent and child too. So we've got some workshops in Witten that are for parents to come along with their child, so that we can help improve communication and empathy, because there's a lot of tension, there's a lot of stress on parents and carers if they have a child with mental ill health as well. So we try and look at it a bit more holistically.
And is there any particular demographic across the local area that are particularly find it harder to share than others?
I would say that anybody on the who has Asperger's or something like that, they find it incredibly hard to come along in the first place, but they probably benefit one of the most in the end, because you can tell young people that there are loads of other people in the same boat as them, but until they actually meet other young people who think in the same way as they do, and then this sort of realization comes into their faces, oh my goodness, I'm not alone, this is, this is this is not unusual, my thinking, and they're just incredibly, I can't tell you how supportive they are of each other once they realize that they've all got problems. And with LGBTQ, there's a real mixture of young people. Some of them are just confused, they don't know what their sexuality is. Others are non-binary. So it's quite a mixed pool, but I would say that the Asperger's, they find it the hardest to actually come along in the first place.
Okay, I've got one more question, but does anybody else have a question? So, Bernie, I'm sure that another question will come up, but I wanted to particularly ask you, you say you're having difficulty reaching out to the young people in Hounslow. What would you recommend as the best way to approach young people or to share this information with them without alienating them?
It's difficult if they're already. I think through schools is quite a good one, and I have delivered flyers to many of the schools. So it's really, if they can see a flyer, they have access to it so that they can see it and they can just discreetly note the website or something. I think that's probably the most likely way. If they're already seeing somebody at CAMS or whatever, then hopefully that information will be passed on to them. But I think it's difficult if they haven't let their identity be known. Then really they just need to be able to find the information and quietly contact us without having to ask.
Would you,
it's
very tough. Bernie, thank you so much for sharing this. Would you be able to share with us for redistribution a flyer that people could put up or distribute themselves?
Yes, of course. Shall I send that to you and then?
Yes, please do.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Bernie.
My pleasure.
Any last comments? No? Okay. So we have got another presentation. Rogers has come along to talk about the impact of COVID on the young people. He's working directly in the local communities across Hounslow and has a very good understanding of the young people and what is happening out there. So welcome, Rogers. So lovely to see you. I'm going to hand over to you at this point. Thank you.
Jane, just 1 second, please.
Yes, of course, Sharonjeet.
Amrit, the boy, Amrit, the karate boy, he's asking for the Zoom link for today. He wants to join the meeting. Could you send him to him, please?
Okay. And Noika, you're on silent.
Sorry, I can't hear you, Sharanjit. Who's asking for the Zoom link?
Amrit, the karate boy.
I'm sorry?
Amrit, the karate boy.
Amrit, the karate man.
Oh, I'll send it. I'll send it right away. Thank you. Thank you, Sharanjit.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Sharanjit. Okay, Rogers, do you want to hold on a moment until Amrit's in?
All right.
Yeah, we'll just give him a moment. And in any case, Bernie's presentation will be made available to Amrit because he's attending. So quite a low number this week, I have to say. Unusual.
It's because it's the bank holiday.
Oh, of course. Everyone's taking a long weekend.
Yes, because people are allowed to start. People are hoping to go outside and do things with their friends.
Yeah, well, Bernie, would you be able to come back at another point?
Yes, sure, absolutely.
Okay, because I think that presentation was fantastic and really relevant and useful for our group. Yeah,
yep, no problem at all.
Thank you, Bernie. Rogers, all yours.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if, hold on, I don't know if Amrit's in yet.
I've just sent him the Zoom link.
Okay, so, okay. Well, Rogers, somebody else will be joining in a moment, but you go ahead.
I can't see you now. Okay. Hello. Can everybody see the screen?
Yes, we can.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to share. My name is Roger Sorero. I'm Director of Rihanna Development Network. The topic today we are going to discuss is about youth development and coping with COVID. as an organization, just a quick brief background of our organization, Rihanna Development Network. We are BME-led charity based in the London Borough of Hounslow. We've been operating in Hounslow over the last 15 years, and the organization focuses on ethnic minority and hard-to-reach communities to promote equality and inclusion. And our work is guided by the Sustainable Development Goal principle of leaving no one behind. And in terms of the youth development aspect, I would like us as an organization to look at what is youth development from Rihanna's perspective as an organization. We have our theory of change as an organization, and the overall outcome for youth development as an organization is to enable young people to achieve their full potential and live more fulfilling lives. How is this possible? So we look at youth development as a way of imparting skills for young people. We realize that at the core of this, sometimes the lack of social skills leads to non-engagement. And this also can lead to lack of well-being. And if the young people don't lack the social skills, it leads to lack of having better relationship, which at the same time can lead to lack of enough skills to be able to have opportunity to work. This leads to lack of work. And then the overall comes up disenchantment of the young people. So as an organization, we look at how can we be able to have a youth development aspect that brings in all these skills. So if you can see on the picture I've put up there, that's some of the activities which the young people have got involved in. Some participating in Jack Pecci Foundation scheme, others cookery, talking circle for young people, just as an example. What are our outputs as an organization? What are some of the things, the outputs, the activities we get engaged in as an organization? We have peer support and emotional well-being, one-to-one support, mentoring and work skills. We also have educational support where we run supplementary education, and there are also volunteering opportunities for people to gain skills by volunteering in the organization. So those are some of the activities which we use to be able to deliver our youth programs. What are some of the projects we have been able to deliver during the lockdown? During the lockdown, Rihanna Development delivered an online arts and drama and fun club. This is really was to support the young people and sustain their social inclusion, to reduce anxiety, and also to promote well-being. So we were able to do this on a weekly basis. This is continuing up to now. On every Monday and Thursday, we continue to do this to engage the young people. We also had a partnership with ELGOL. ELGOL stands for Let's Go Outside and Learn. This was to use nature, people to go out for walks to promote positive physical and mental health. And also it helps reduce isolation, but at the same time, it enhances community cohesion, social inclusion, and it encourages families and children to utilize the open spaces. In Hounslow, we are lucky to have quite a number of open spaces where people can be able to go and walk. Some boroughs, inner boroughs, don't have the kind of spaces we have in the London Borough of Hounslow. So we are trying to encourage the families and the children to utilize such spaces. Over the lockdown, we also had a program called Survive and Soar. This was to promote and enhance the mental health of young people. It was done online, where we trained 15 young people on board training so that they could become peer mental health support for their own peers. It also gave them a platform to express their experiences and impact of the lockdown. And it also to equip them with the necessary skills and also how to identify services within the borough. And the workshops were divided into three. There was one on education, mental health, and crime. And also we had positive speakers, those who are young people who are now reformed and straight. So they had to talk to the young people on what the causes of crime and the impact, not only on the young person, but even the families and the society as a whole. Then we also had stop and search training. Know your rights. So we got involved with the local police so that they could come and talk to the young people. If you were stopped and searched, but what are your rights as a young person? How do you speak to the police? And what are some of the questions you need to ask when you are being searched? Because we found out during the lockdown, just before the second lockdown, when the young people were going to college or schools, quite a number of them were being stopped, and this was quite annoying to some of them. So we had to try and explain to them how they could be able to handle such situations. What do we see as an organization as some of the priority areas for youth development, taking into consideration what has happened over the last 1 year? We look at systematic change. When we look at there needs to be much more co-creation with the delivery partners that represent and are trusted by the community they deserve. So when programs are being done, there needs to be partners involved who are trusted by the community such that this can have a positive effect. Also, we believe that one of the priorities should be young people's passion to regain normalcy. This should be validated while we encourage and empower and encourage them in forming creative solutions for a new normal. Whatever that new normal might be, we need to validate their passions and encourage them. And an area in which we need to look into is psychosocial and mental health support for the young people. During the COVID pandemic, which is still ongoing, what were some of the coping strategies for the young people? We realized the young people were collaborating with social activities such as drawing on the windows, collective activities, and at one point when we were clapping for the health professionals, the young people were coming out, were engaged, but they also stepped up to mitigate the impact of COVID crisis. For example, through volunteering, we have young people who came up and started volunteering, and they are continuing to do that. But also we realized that some of the young people ignored the problem and just acted as if nothing was happening. They wanted to put it as the back of their mind and assume and continue just going on with this. So this with a number of young people, but we have to be mindful that if somebody, are they doing this as a coping mechanism, but what impact would that have on their mental health at some point later on? So we just need to be mindful of such. What do we think or do we believe were the success factors in proper or organized youth development? We believe that working with young people to co-create projects and incorporating their feedback into the delivery is quite crucial if we wanted to develop a good youth work. Also, mentorship and being there for the young people. Sometimes the young people want somebody just to be there to listen to them, for them to talk to them, a shoulder to cry on. So that can also be important. And we realized that knowing the area and engaging the local community to find out what the gaps are, what are the areas of concern, but also to build better relationship by building trust within the local community and the local people. Identify within each community who are the key shakers of that particular community, who is respected. Can you be able to gain their trust such that they could pass the word around to embrace whatever project is coming along? And also to build stronger volunteer base. Volunteers are crucial, but we also have to realize that projects that are too dependent on key workers can only survive as long as the key worker is around, and therefore they become incredibly fragile. So as you continue developing programs, you need to also continue broadening your volunteer base such that you don't rely on only a few people or a few workers, such that they could come in should the crisis happen. As I earlier talked, key production is key. That involves key stakeholders, especially beneficiaries on the project design. On that photos on that was a summer program just when partial lockdown was taking place. We were organizing an activity for the summer program. And as you can see, that's a time now we were seeking the views and asking suggestions on how to shape the program going forward, especially after maybe an activity or before, to seek the views of those young people to shape how they wanted the program to be either redesigned or what to be incorporated, such that they could be able to enjoy or participate fully in the program, such that their voices could be heard. One crucial issue we found out is the right appointment of experienced youth workers. This is very, very important to have youth workers who know what they're doing, who understand the issues around youth, and who can be able to relate with what is happening with the youth. And to be flexible and take advice. Be ready to network and collaborate with others. In conclusion, what I could say is we need to promote age diversity in public consultations and state institutions to reflect the needs and concerns of different age cohorts in decision making. Sometimes we keep on saying young people, the future is for the young people. We keep on saying future for the young people, but do we take their consultation? Do we listen to what they say? When we are making decisions, do we take their advice or their concern into before we make policies? And also to provide targeted policies and services for the most vulnerable youth population, especially the needs, not in employment, education, or training. And updating youth strategies, collaboration with youth stakeholders to translate political commitments into actionable programs. Yeah, the politicians or the policies make a talk, but can it be translated into actual programs that address the issues of the young people? Let us not wait for the adolescents or young people to protest for their voices to be heard. We need to proactively look for this, not wait for if an event comes out, the young people protest. Is when we start looking at the structural issues, the things which are not right in the community. Let's be proactive. And we need to acknowledge the impact the COVID has had on young people today. And let's try to include their voices when we are looking at the strategic plan, policies, and systems within the various communities that are mostly affected. If you can see on your right, the voices of Rihanna, this one was whereby we did an anthology to try and look at the young people. They were to draw or write a poem or take photographs, what the impact of COVID on them was. So they put this, and this has been put together into a booklet, which was circulated and sent out so that it could remind them of what the impact was and how they dealt with it. So my passing shot is that as we look back on the year 2020, we may see so many things that went wrong, but let us also see this as the time of opportunity when youth engagement took center stage. And I would only just take this opportunity also thank you so much for allowing me to share our views and our programs with you. Unless if anybody has any question, I'll be happy to take.
Thank you, Rogers. That was an incredibly powerful presentation and really showed your international and your experience and many, many years of roots in the local community. I think that, you know, as many groups as possible should be listening to what you're saying. Rogers, I'm personally quite interested in that booklet that you produced.
Yes, sure.
Is there any way that we can share that with people?
Yes, we can share it, yes.
Yeah, the booklet that you produced for the young people showing the impacts of COVID, is that in electronic format? And would we be able to get a link?
Yes, we have it. We have it on a PDF. We can share it. That was an anthology done by the young people themselves. Yes, we can share it. Yeah.
Very powerful, I think. Really useful to share amongst our groups as well. Any questions for Rogers? Noika, did you have a question there or not?
Actually, I was just happy with, very, very impressed by the presentation. So I put up a clap.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, Rogers. Rahila from Center for Human Development. Yeah, really nice presentation with all the work you have done. It's really impressive. My question is regarding, SDG goals. Sustainable. You said you are working on sustainable goals. UN Sustainable Development Goals. Mm-hmm. So it is just a thematic goal you are working on, or you are actually implementing with UN agencies that particular goal?
Thank you.
Right, you said about.
Sorry, Rahila, could you?
Yeah, I said you said about UN sustainable goals. Is it you are actually working with UN agencies, or it is just a thematic or principle you are just making your programs based on?
Yep. Okay. Thank you so much, Rahila, for that question. It's a thematic area, but at the same time, we are an organization that works internationally. One of our programs which we run in Kenya is food security and livelihood, looking at the Sustainable Development Goal 2 and 8. So we actually try to work towards that, whereby decent employment and opportunity for the young people, and also to reduce the level of poverty, Sustainable Development Goal 2. Yes, so to answer your question, we try as an organization to adhere towards that, so that when we are running programs, we try also to fit in those Sustainable Development Goals as an organization. How do we meet them on particular strands? We might not work or meet all of them, but there are certain programs we run that actually addresses some of those Sustainable Development Goals.
Thank you so much, Rogers.
In terms of taking getting the voices of young people in terms of policies and stuff, what would be your recommended sort of way of doing that? I mean, there is something called the Hounslow Youth Council. I don't know if you heard of that.
Thank you, Ian. Yes, I know the Hounslow Youth Council. Yes, it's a good start, but it's always important to have those voices. If various organizations have youth forums within their organization, then they can link into that the youth council at the council level. But we shouldn't only leave it at the youth council, which is trying to work with the council. We should also be able to to lobby other agencies apart from only the council, because there are various stakeholders policy formulation that we can be able to link. It should not only be left to the council. We can look at the mayor's office. We can look at various departments, such that at each particular time when a policy is being drawn, whether it is health, whether it's education, anything relating to the young people, at least there needs to be a representation for the young people, such that their issues can be collated and be part and parcel of that. So to answer your question, yes, the young people, the Hounslow Youth Council is there, but there needs to be more strengthened. I don't know if I've answered your question, Ian.
So, Rogers, have you worked with the Youth Council?
Yes, I've worked with them.
Okay. And are you on any of Celia Golden's are you on any of Celia Golden's equalities and human rights groups?
In
Hounslow?
Not in Hounslow, but I'm a member of an equality council in another place in North London. Rota, race on the agenda.
Okay. Any other questions for Rogers? Right. Okay. At this point, I think we'll just open the floor to general discussion. And Rogers and Bernie are both still here. So if we can consider the impact of COVID and what has happened in the last year on young people and what different groups are doing to address that, that would be possibly link in with our current discussion. Amrit, you work a lot with young people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Quite heavily, and in fact, the last lesson we had actually nearly brought me to tears, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm quite a hard, tough person, because he was not coping well at being home, and he's a vulnerable adult and he's autistic, and his parents don't seem to understand his mental health and well-being. They seem to be slightly neglecting the fact that he has a mental condition, which is being autistic. And being at home for the whole year, he said he wasn't able to struggle. He said he wasn't able to cope. He was having suicidal thoughts. He's such a sweet boy. I mean, he's 22, but you know, when I look at him, I see a child. And he broke down in tears in the class, and he was saying, you know, he wants to come to the dojo every day. Normally he used to come twice a week. Now he wants to come every day. And I said, no problem, you can come every day. And he sees it as a place of sanctuary, because it's a place where people get him and understand him. And we all treat each other as equals, and we look after each other, and it's a family unit. And I think it really hit home to me, and it made me understand more so what this atmosphere does for the youth and for the children, not just learning how to punch and kick and defend themselves, but having a home and a place where they can actually be themselves and be in an environment where they're understood, you know? That was just last Thursday. It was quite hard. It was quite hard to sit down with him, because he doesn't understand why it is some people don't really connect with him, you know? I think I was in the park with him, and we were walking, we had a karate suit, and he had some leaflets, and he was just handing them to some people. And a lot of parents, because of the way he's a very big person, he's a very big lad. And some parents were just shouting at him, saying, you can't just give a karate leaflet to anybody and things like that. And he started crying. He didn't know what to do. So it's really sad that some people, they choose not to care and read body language and understand that some people may not understand what's okay and what's not okay. And it wasn't really bad of him to do that anyway. It was during daytime, and you know, everyone was around. He was wearing a karate suit as well. But I mean, I'm really happy that he's back in the dojo, because obviously it's safe. I feel safe now because he's saying he was having some unhealthy thoughts.
Yeah.
So
I think,
yeah.
Amrit, I think you touched on there something that is really key to these activities for young people, that anywhere that they can go and feel welcome is a place of safety. And, you know, when Bernie was talking about the activities for the LGBTQ teens, the impression that we come away with is that this is a safe place.
Definitely.
This is somewhere they can connect and they can reach out. And with the COVID over the last year and the impact of lockdown, so many of our young people have felt extremely isolated and very cut off from their normal activities. And particularly if they have got any kind of mental health issues and find it difficult to socialize and connect with people generally, and not being allowed to go out and just pass people or engage with people in a normal way had a huge impact on their mental health.
Definitely.
And, you know, any kind of activity out there, like the clubs that Rogers and Bernie and yourself are running, are critically important for their reintegration into the society.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, it's also quite difficult as well, because during the lockdown, he was calling me once every week with updates and saying he's not feeling so good and can I speak to his parents? And he gave me his parents' numbers and I did ring the parents, but it was so disappointing and it was so upsetting because the parents didn't care. And I was speaking to them, I was saying, you know what, he's feeling certain way. They said, oh, he'll be fine, he'll be fine. I'm a bit busy, I'm at work, and they cut the phone. And it's really, really an eye-opening situation, because I'm thinking, he's living in that environment. I just had to deal with them for like, 10 minutes on the phone. And I can truly now understand now why a lot of the children see the senseis, because we have different instructors as well. It's not just me who instructs. They see all the instructors as like parents and fatherly figures and family and someone they can talk to as well. So there's a lot more to it. But I think even for myself during the lockdown, I was quite down too, because I felt I couldn't do my duty as a sensei to help those children who I know need that in their life. And I felt like I couldn't do my duty, and I was feeling upset. I mean, I run several businesses quite successfully, and I'm quite fortunate, God willing, that, I've done all of that. But it wasn't about, doing business and keeping afloat. It was karate for me is it's literally like a lifestyle, a way of living. It gives purpose to me because I know the responsibility I have. And during the lockdown, I was terribly upset. It was like, it's the longest time I've ever been away from karate since I was 3 years old, Yeah,
very hard. I mean, there's a saying it originates in Africa, I believe, Rogers, that, it's not a family who raise a child, but it's a community.
Definitely.
And there is a sense that hasn't been there because we haven't been able to connect with our communities, and that the support network that should be in place has been removed for young people. So, it's so important as we come out of lockdown again, that we make a real concerted effort across the borough and across the West London, really, to reach out to groups who are working with young people and to make sure that they are supported and that the young people know who they are and where they can go.
Definitely.
And I know I'm speaking a lot, but I have to say that as a local resident and the parent of young people myself, it is an issue that is really close to my own heart. And having lived through the last year and seen the impact on my own young people and how hard it has been for them and their friends, it's something that I am really concerned about.
Definitely. Because there's nothing we can do, really. It's like our hands are tied during the lockdown.
Very, very difficult. And there have been some fantastic online programs. So Rogers, your group ran some fantastic Zoom sessions with the young people. I know our barn, who work with children and not children, young people with disabilities, they transitioned to online immediately lockdown happened. So they kept engaged with their young people. Fab Club did the same. I can't think of any other that I know. I know Ivy Bridge had to close down.
I mean, we did have online sessions, and we did do that spontaneously because I run an app development company, so we did that through the karate. But I think the only reason I felt it didn't help some of those people is because of the home environment that they had to live in. So that's why it was really difficult, because we do a Zoom session with them, they get that moment of release, but they can't go out and talk to that person or be in a different environment. The environment that they were in was just draining them. And I'm not speaking for every child, but there was just a few students who actually spoke to me and things like that, saying that the atmosphere, the house that they're in, was just draining them, and they couldn't do much. They couldn't get out of it. They felt like they were trapped. It was hard speaking to him. I know I'm going on a bit, but it was quite hard.
Yeah. I mean, it's absolutely relevant. And Rogers, you had a system of connecting and checking in with the young people through COVID. How did that work?
Yeah. So what we did is that we had to do detached youth work, whereby 2 of our youth workers would literally every single week, we had to divide them with a number of people which they had to call every single week, because we have young people, some based in the central Hounslow, some based in Chiswick, some based in Brentford, so all over. So we had to divide. We had 3 youth workers, so one had to be concentrating on the Chiswick side, one in central Hounslow, and the other one in Brentford. So they had to literally be calling every week. And those who are not online, because there were some young people who could not be able to get online, we had to literally be printing activity sheets for them. And the youth workers were actually dropping this to their homes, just to make sure that at least they got something to be doing during that time. At the same time, we had to do the top up. We got some little grant. We had to do top up vouchers for them, so that during the session they could be able to log online to be able to get into the activity. So those are some of the ways in which we engage the young people during the lockdown.
Did you have a lot of new referrals and new young people coming into the service during lockdown, Rogers?
Yes, we had quite a number of people coming. In fact, most of it was through word of mouth. One child brings their friends, and the snowballing effect. One of our programs had a challenge. For example, supplementary school. We were doing previously, before the lockdown, we had 42 children per week. This reduced to 20 because when it came to online, it was difficult to run lessons online. For example, if it was face-to-face, you had a teacher, you had a support assistant, but online, you want to break them into a different room. How do you support them there? One child is lagging behind on a task, the other. So it became quite challenging, especially online. So we had to make the difficult decision to only support those from year 5, 6 and above. That's year 5 and 6 of primary, then secondary school. We had to do away with year 3 and 4 because of the concentration span, and also how to support them well online. So we lost a number during that, but only that program. But for the others, we saw increased number of referrals. But what was interesting, although we were working with the young people, we had more referrals when it came to food poverty, those looking to be referred to the food bank or to get some food for the families. That was quite interesting. Although we were working with young people, we ended up getting involved in food distribution and referral to the food bank. As a result of detached youth work, we realized that the family needed that.
It's a sad reflection of our society. Yeah, really sad reflection of what has actually happened and the lack of support out there. Bernie, I want to ask you a question, but I see Sharonjeet's got her hand up. Sharonjeet?
Yeah, Roger, well done. A lot of hard work you put into and a lot of effort into the whole year, like all of us. We also, like Roger, we also target young moms who were really struggling. They could not send the children to school, they could not leave the child at home, and they were struggling to do their shoppings. And they really struggled with every household, either household cleaning product, either household washing machine broken down, fridge freezer broken down. So we as an organization been supporting the young moms and young children different way. I mean, we engage the moms and the children with the artwork and maths and English writing books, drop them packages on their front doors. So had Zoom meetings once a week to get them engaged and see their progress throughout every week, what the coloring they've done, how much work they've done. And then the children also could come in to communicate with us as well. There was special need children as well who wouldn't understand why couldn't they go out and about at all. I mean, I think the young people also, because they are quite independent, easy for them to go out, and they are the one who felt really worse in situation. They felt stuck. They could not cope with the situation. It was hard for them to accept the change. And young moms also, they could not leave the children at home, go and do the shopping. So what we did, we joined the Young Ealing Foundation food bank. So we go and pick up the food from there every week and deliver it to the people's houses on their doorsteps. And the days my husband couldn't do it, he goes to work. So we have a backup like a food vouchers through the funding, and that's what we've been supporting last year and this year as well. Until December, we are still continue supporting community with the food bank and food vouchers as well.
Thank you, Sharonjeet.
Especially people, children with the special need, the mothers are really struggling.
Yeah.
We are looking at young children as well, fine, but young mothers are also struggling within the all the areas, Ealing, Hounslow and Hillingdon as well. So we are covering all these areas as well.
Sharonjeet, you've really done a huge amount during the pandemic. And I do know, the impact of COVID on young people who have got disabilities. I'm in another side of my world and life, I am the vice chair of the Parent Carer Forum in Hounslow, and we work with a lot of families who have children with disabilities. And the impact during COVID has been unbelievable. Unbelievable. You cannot begin to imagine how isolated and scary life has become for families in Hounslow. Bernie, I was quite interested in knowing how many new recruits or referrals have you had during lockdown? Has that increased, or have you seen a decline in numbers?
Well, we only formed in October 2019, so we just got our funding on board, and then the COVID struck. However, we contacted Public Health England to make sure when we were then given permission to operate, because we were outside and we're a therapy group, and so I don't know is the answer, because we've never operated without COVID, really.
Yeah. So it's almost as though you were created for COVID.
Well, it's I think it was a particularly needed service, because we could carry on and you know, we could enable young people to still meet, socially distance, etc., but outside. And I think it was an absolute, you know, it was a lifesaver, I think, for some of these young people.
Yeah, and I think, you know, as we go forward now and everyone's thinking about how we transition into normal life, it's the groups like yours and Rogers and Amrit's and Rahila and anybody else working with families and young children, including the whole age range like Sharonjeet does, that are going to be key to actually keeping our local communities intact. The more we engage, the more we carry them forward, and the more we keep on working with them as we start transitioning into normal life, the better it will be for everyone.
And we encourage the young people, I think I mentioned it in the presentation, we encourage them to go on and do community work. So in Richmond, where we've worked with various organizations, we've given them their contact details so that they can go and do volunteering with them as well, and it gives them a sense of community, and also it makes them takes their mind off their own problems for a little bit, and they have a sense of achievement by giving back to the community a bit too, so it all helps.
Yeah. Any further comments from anyone? I think this has been a really thought-provoking session.
Jane, I was
Yes,
going to ask you, I have one family who has 2 autistic children. They desperately need a lot of help with maybe a special need child, special need teacher, and the children go to normal school, which they need to be guided. They can send their children to special school as well. And I have another lady in Southall area. She is struggling with the rent and her benefits and things a lot. I would like some help. Who can I point her to? And then she can get all the support she really required. I mean, she came to my doorstep yesterday, crying her eyes out for her sister and her neighbor. So, you know, I gave them food vouchers. I said, at the moment, this is all I can help you with, but I will find out the support for you tomorrow and call you back. I mean, there are people, they are, you know, they've been pushed to their extent. They can't cope anymore. One with the situations of COVID, and the death of their loved ones. And, you know, a lot of people have trying to, you know, they're just closing the door to everybody. They just don't want to talk to everybody. They're going into more and more isolation, and it's not easy. I'm trying to engage them a lot with my allotment work and try to offer them, you know, food growing together and all that. But a lot of them don't have facilities of transport and things like that. People are really struggling. When we see them, it really take us our heart out to those people, honestly, how many problems they're facing at one point.
Yeah.
So I need some support for the lady.
Sharonjeet, perhaps because it's about particular individuals, perhaps we could talk separately on that.
Okay.
Because, you know, it's quite important to actually make sure that support is put in place. And although it's not my job within EHCVS, I'm sure that I can refer you on to places as well, or suggest places that you could look at. Hi.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Okay.
Sorry, Jane, I was just wondering, can I put in the link to get reviews for today's session? Yes, if everybody would just click on that link.
Okay.
I put it in the chat, and if you could leave your reviews for today's session, please.
Okay.
Okay. Rahila, I'm just wondering as well with your organization, because
Yes.
you're fairly new.
Yeah.
And basically, you know, much like Bernie's, have almost been created in time for the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
So how have your referrals been affected during the pandemic?
Actually, Jane, we were set up in 2018, and at that time it was learning for us how to contact people. Particularly, we work with hard to reach communities, and we were not quite used to with a virtual kind of thing. So then, fortunately, most of the communities we work, we have all the contact details and everything. And we have created a kind of, with our community group, you know, WhatsApp groups. And we were able to, you know, connect with them through those tools like WhatsApp, or we have some Facebook page kind of. So it was quite easier. And transitioning from, before COVID, we were doing activities in community centers, and then through virtually, then we were able to, you know, somehow manage through these online tools like Zoom or WhatsApp. Yeah, because regarding referrals, we are not working in that way currently, because we have our groups, and these group members were participants or beneficiaries. We know them, we are working with them closely on ground, so it was quite easier for us to reach them. Yeah, because we are quite new, we are not so big like 15 or 20 years, or we are not hugely funded that we can do those kind of activities. So being a small or newly established organization and working on ground, we were able to reach the community which we were working for.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of benefits to being a small community group, because you can pivot and you can make the decisions to change the way you deliver very quickly.
And most of the people who are in our board and all that, they have lived experience on the issues which we are working. So we can take decisions, proper decisions as per our experiences at the board, or we can get all the information from our group, how we want to change, because we all are in the same boat actually. So it's quite easier for us to connect with them and to feel how they want us to work. So that's why, you know, it was a little easier, but of course tough, to transitioning from that thing to this. So yeah,
it's been a big change for everyone, hasn't it?
Yeah, indeed.
so but can I it is not question to Bernie, but just my feeling and observation regarding the issues, the issues Bernie and his organization they are working on. Actually, before pandemic, we were planning, our organization was planning to work with British Muslims for Secular Democracy. It's an organization founded by Yasmin Albai Brown. Maybe you know all, because she usually comes on BBC and Channel 4. The organization works on minorities within minorities. For example, they work on Muslims, but those who are minority within Muslim groups like women and LGBT communities. So I think it will be great, if you can contact them for community engagement and all that, because they are working for LGBT community, particularly from a Muslim background. Maybe that can, help in engaging to community and reach more people, as you were saying that you want to reach more and more people. This is just, my observation while working with the organization, because we work mostly for Pakistan and Bangladesh community whose civic engagement is very low. And we were trying to do democracy workshops with them so that the communities can get more actively engaged within the communities. So yeah, this is just my observation. I may not be much helpful in, engaging in a larger way, but just my suggestion or my limited information which I wanted to share with you.
Oh, thank you very much. How do I contact them? Or
Rahila, would you like to put their contact details into the chat for Bernie?
They have website. It is British Muslims for Secular Democracy. Just sorry for my background noise.
That's all right. That's okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. It's quite interested in the democracy workshops you run, Rahila. It may be, is it something that you would be prepared to deliver to different groups?
Yeah, of course, we will do it after pandemic, because for that we need much community engagement, which virtually is not possible. So we will certainly resume those workshops after, everything get on track. Everything will be back on track.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, everyone. That's, I think we're coming to an end.
I just want to mention the Housing Council's
Yes.
currently got a voluntary sector survey going on. So they do one every year. It's now currently live. I'll send you the link. There's a prize draw for the chance to win £50 if you take part. It's going to be live until the end of May.
Okay.
And I think it's a good opportunity for, obviously, to let the council know about the state of the sector, because that will influence how they fund the sector and how they shape their policy. So I hope you will all complete the survey, and I'll send you the link afterwards.
Yeah, I think that's really a good point, because if you can spread that link around as widely as possible, that is an opportunity to have your say. All right, thank you everyone for joining us today. If you haven't had a moment to complete the feedback sheet, Noika has put it into the chat. And we do appreciate, as I'm sure that you understand, any kind of feedback, because it adds to our own stats. And as we are so a funded organization, and each of our projects in turn is, we have to write our own bids and get funding for that. And but it's always good to collect some feedback, as you all know.
Noika, I request you to arrange something for the allotment project through the council, so we can get to talk to these people who cover the allotment areas, and any difficulties and improvement we would like to do in future for the allotments, so we can grow more food and serve the community more and more. I went to the Rogerville also. I love to hear more about the allotments project. There are some more organizations who would like to operate from the allotment work as well.
Sharanjit, would you have maybe a flyer or something, where you promote the project? Maybe we could use that in our newsletter and promote the
I will send it to you. I will definitely send it to you. Thank you, darling.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm a bit of a low time at the moment due to the death.
I hope you get well.
We had a death in the family. That's why.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. But it's always good to see you, Sharanjit. And
thank you, my darling. So I mean, to be honest, I was going to say something to Ian. Through this pandemic, if these meetings were not on, we as organizations would be lost, and also we would also suffer a lot more like other people if these meetings were not going on, because these meetings and informations has kept us up to date and encourage us and enable us to keep on working the way we are working. Although we as an organization, we are also human beings, we are also suffering as well as other people, but most of them has been real heroes in the both boroughs, all the boroughs, trying to support people, while we as well in the desperate need of a support as well. Like myself, I could see myself yesterday. I'm in desperate need of a support myself at the moment. But you know, when somebody come on your door and need a help, you can't refuse them and say to them, no, I can't do it. You just being a bigger and better person to accommodate them, whatever they need with, and listen to their phone calls, listen to their problem and try to accommodate them. So, you know, thanks very much for these meetings has kept me and organizations going with a lot of information and kept us away from a lot more stress as well.
Thank you, Sharanjit. Sharanjit, can I come back to you with a couple of questions? I need feedback like this to put in my report so we can go back to our funder and extend the session, because it was supposed to be for 6 months, but I know that the effect of community building these forums have taken has really helped bring us all together. So I'd like to send an email to
Yeah, I'm happy to support you, because I'm supporting about 3 or 4 other organizations and other charities, as well as making Zoom videos, how the pandemic has affected people, because they wanted to hear from the senior points of view and the bereavement point of view as well, because I've been counseling people during the pandemic. I mean, I myself, within our In Touch, we have lost up to 45 to 50 people during this pandemic, which is quite a high number. So each time, you know, each time you go down and pick up yourself again, it's an experience. So we are better positioned to support other people as well. And I'm proud to say that I've managed to do so much for the community, which I could not achieve before in many years. You know, this was the biggest achievement. In the nicest way, my heart feels good and gold that we've been supporting these people and looking after them for our borrowers to feel proud of us. I think Ealing and Hounslow Borough will feel so proud of all the organizations, the way they work during the pandemic. Without even us as a senior citizens, we didn't look after ourselves, but we look after our borough and our people as well.
Thank you, Sharanjit. I think, you know, what I've got I'll come to you now, Rogers. I do see you've got your hand up. I think that's really key to what these sessions bring, is that we must never forget that at the end of the day, the leaders of the groups are human as well. And that in turn, coming to these sessions is an opportunity for us to support each other, as well as recognize the work that is being done by the groups. Rogers, you had a comment.
Yeah, not a comment, but I just wanted to notify you, Janet has put the link for the anthology voices on the chat. So the one we are supposed to, so it's there already.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you, Janet.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Good to not see you. We haven't seen your face today, but it's really good to have you in the meeting.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm running 2 meetings at the same time. So I mean, this one.
Oh no, we fully understand it.
Yeah. Maybe next time you'll see my face.
Yeah, that's good. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. And we'll see you next week. Enjoy your long weekend. 4 days some people are taking. I can't believe it. 3 days for most of us. Enjoy it.
Some of us, it's 7 days.
Oh, yes, Roger, some of us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All right.
Okay, bye-bye.
Could you post us the link through the email, please?
The link, yes.
Please, thank you.
We'll add those links.